So there's talk circulating online that Dillian Whyte potentially could leave Eddie Hearn and sign a deal with a rival promoter, be it Al Haymon, who's, yes, not officially a promoter, but, sign a deal with PBC, basically, and maybe base himself in the United States, or fight on ITV in the UK, because PBC are now launching their brand in the UK on ITV and ITV box office. So this is the speculation, and Dillian Whyte hasn't shut down this speculation. He said, yeah, he is a free agent. He fights on a fight-by-fight basis with Eddie Hearn. There's no long-term contract, and I've known that for a long time. I've mentioned that many times before. Now, this is in the midst of ongoing negotiations between Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua for a fight on April 13th. Dillian Whyte believes that Anthony Joshua doesn't really want the rematch with him, but in fact wants to fight Jarrell Miller in New York. Now, if Dillian Whyte was to leave Matchroom Boxing, would he be better off if he was, let's say, with PBC? There are two questions you have to ask yourselves. Would PBC, Al Haymon, be able to get Dillian Whyte a title shot sooner than Eddie Hearn? That's the first question. And the second question is, would Al Haymon be able to pay Dillian Whyte more than Eddie Hearn's paying him? Now, we can only theorize, but to the best of your knowledge, do you think it's realistic that PBC could get Dillian Whyte a title shot sooner than Hearn? And do you think it's realistic that they could pay him more than Hearn? Again, it's me as an outsider looking in. I don't know the numbers that Dillian Whyte knows. But as an outsider, I would have to imagine that PBC can't get him a shot at a title before Hearn will, and that PBC can't pay him more than Eddie Hearn will pay him. Because Dillian Whyte has an opportunity right now to fight Anthony Joshua on April 13th. He might say it's a lowball offer, but it's still an opportunity. He can take that offer if he wants. And Eddie Hearn says that there's going to be an improved offer given to Dillian Whyte in the next few days. So he does have legitimately a chance to fight Anthony Joshua on April 13th. There's his world title shot right there if he wants it. PBC are not going to be able to get him a title shot any sooner than that. Facts. And as far as what he's being paid, he calls it a lowball offer. Eddie Hearn says it's in the multi-millions. That Dillian Whyte will be paid millions for fighting Anthony Joshua. Will PBC be able to get Dillian Whyte a fight where he's paid millions for the world heavyweight title in the early part of 2019? I don't see how they would, unless it's going to be against Joshua, and I don't see it being against. I think the easiest way to make a fight against Joshua is for Dillian Whyte to be with Matchroom, the situation he's in right now. Otherwise, Joshua will go off and fight somebody else. So I don't see the advantage as an outsider looking in, as somebody who's not privy to all the things Dillian Whyte's privy to, and Dillian Whyte is self-managed, by the way. As an outsider looking in, I don't see what PBC, Al Haymon could really do for Dillian Whyte right now. I don't see what they could do for him that Eddie Hearn's not already doing for him. I don't see how they could do a better job than Hearn's doing for him right now. Dillian Whyte has been built into a pay-per-view fighter, yes, with his own hard work, but also with the help of his promoter Eddie Hearn and the broadcaster Sky Sports. His last two fights, he's made millions. It's going good for him right now. I think it might be a terrible move if he was to break ties with Eddie Hearn and sign with PBC. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm just being objective here and thinking about it rationally. How many contenders who have never even had a world title shot yet are millionaires in the sport of boxing? How many? Very, very few, I can tell you that. But Dillian Whyte is one of them. Dillian Whyte is one of the very tiny, tiny few boxers in the whole of boxing who is a millionaire when he's never even had a world title shot yet. If that's not a good job by a promoter, as well as a good job by Dillian Whyte, because he's a tough man and he's put himself in risky positions, in tough fights to get to where he is. Let's give Dillian Whyte full credit. But at the same time, we have to give Matchroom and Sky Sports credit for helping Dillian get to that position and giving him the opportunities. That's the best way to put it. Giving him the opportunities to get to the position he's in. For putting his fights on box office. They've done great business with him. Great promotion with him. So for him to leave all that behind and go to Al Haymon, I don't know, man. Like, look, and I've got no problem with any fighter leaving Hearn and Sky and going elsewhere if they can get a better deal elsewhere. Go and do it. But as an outsider, somebody who doesn't have inside knowledge of the situation, to me, it just doesn't look like a good thing to do for Dillian Whyte financially, or in terms of getting a title shot sooner rather than later. It doesn't look like a good thing to be leaving Hearn at this point and going to PBC. I mean, Dillian Whyte is number one contender with the WBC. Dominic Breazeale is the mandatory. But yet even Dominic Breazeale has been leapfrogged by Tyson Fury. Dominic Breazeale has been waiting for his mandatory shot for over a year. And it's probably going to be 2 years that Dominic Breazeale would have been waiting by the time he actually gets that mandatory shot. 2 years! Well, how long's Dillian Whyte going to have to wait then? Because he's going to be the mandatory after Breazeale. So he might be waiting, what, 3 years, 4 years before he gets his shot? Ridiculous. And you guys wanted him to fight Luis Ortiz to become the second mandatory? I mean, what was in it for Dillian Whyte fighting Luis Ortiz to become second mandatory? If he fought Ortiz and they made him mandatory and guaranteed him a shot within a year, Dillian Whyte would have taken it. But to make him second mandatory, he would have had to wait even longer than Dominic Breazeale, and Breazeale's going to probably wait 2 years by the time he gets his shot. So Whyte would have been waiting, what, 3 years, 3.5 years? I mean, that's completely absurd, isn't it? So with PBC, when is he going to get his WBC title shot? And again, if they're going to try and get him, if PBC are going to try and get him a shot at Joshua, surely it's easier to get a shot at Joshua if he remains with Matchroom. I mean, sooner or later, Dillian Whyte is going to become, maybe if he wins an eliminator, he's going to become mandatory for one of Joshua's belts anyway. And the fight is so much easier to make if he's with Matchroom. So again, I just don't see the logic in going elsewhere right now. I mean, maybe one of you guys can explain to me something I haven't seen here, something I'm missing. But to me, it would be a very, very risky move for, business-wise and career-wise for Dillian Whyte to go to PBC. PBC have only got one heavyweight champion, and they might not have him for long if the Tyson Fury rematch goes ahead. Who knows how that fight's going to turn out? So you've got one belt to shoot for. Even if you become mandatory for that belt, how long are you going to have to wait for your mandatory shot? Maybe Al Haymon will say, no, Deontay, you're going to give, if Wilder beats Fury, maybe Haymon will push Dillian Whyte upon Wilder, like he pushed Luis Ortiz upon Wilder. Say, no, Deontay, you need a step-up fight. Here's Luis Ortiz, you're going to have to fight him. Maybe he'll do the same if Whyte was to sign with Al Haymon. Maybe he'll push Dillian Whyte upon Wilder, but I mean, who knows whether he would actually do that, particularly with unifications with Anthony Joshua out there as a possibility, and maybe even a third fight with Fury, depending on what happens in the second one. So it's really up in the air and difficult to say. Like I said, I think it would be a big risk for Dillian Whyte, and potentially he could be earning a hell of a lot less money if he joins PBC. He's built something good for himself in the UK. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about everything I talked about in this video. It's Haymon, I'm out.
Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.